66 days ago, the music stopped. In silence, we watched as our world changed, our lives halted, and our priorities shifted. Sports, forever our unifying chorus, only amplified the void. A March with no madness. An April without Augusta. We weren't used to the quiet, and we still aren't. So we made our own music. We found new reasons to sing. Today, 4 familiar faces give us something entirely out of the ordinary. Golf in its purest form, at a venue few eyes have ever seen. It will look different, it will feel different, and it will sound different. But for the first time in 66 days, the world has struck a familiar tune. The music is back, and it's right here on Golf.com.
Folks, welcome into Golf.com's second screen experience. You're at home. I'm at home. We're all at home. Watching the TaylorMade Drive-In Relief Skins match down at Seminole. We've been looking forward to this match for quite some time now. It's Rory, McIlroy, and Dustin Johnson against Rickie, Fowler, and Matthew Wolff. It's 4-ball skins with money increasing throughout the match. It's going to be a lot of fun. It'll even be more fun right here on YouTube, on Facebook, on Golf.com. We are going to be your second screen experience with my fellow golf freaks, Dylan DeChair and Luke Curtinine. Gentlemen, welcome in. Do you have your popcorn ready like I do?
Oh, you literally have it ready. We got our boy Dustin Wall in here too.
Jay Wall. I did not know you were going to join us right now. We're going to have a couple different people joining us throughout the day. Jay Wall is one of them. So no popcorn for you boys? Come on.
I don't even have to drink a glass of water around right now. So.
I got nothing.
Well, I've got a nice triple mix of butter and cheddar and caramel popcorn here. So I'm ready for the next 2.5 hours or so. We're going to have the first 9 holes as part of a second screen experience. We're not going to be here for the full 18 because we've got some other things to worry about in our lives. But guys, what are we first most looking forward to today? There's a lot of different things happening. We got Seminole. We've got 2 of the top 5 players in the world on the same team. Dylan, what are you actually really psyched for with this match?
I mean, honestly, just the fact that we have live sports back. I mean, I know we've had some, German soccer, we've got some UFC, but come on, we're Golf.com. We've got some real golf to watch. That's the biggest thing. Plus, it's, some of the more compelling personalities in the game. Dustin Johnson, maybe we'll see a little mic'd up moment from him, get a little bit of a peek inside his personality. Rory's good on camera. Rickie's big, a little bit more. I don't know. There's a lot to be excited about, but mostly that this exists. That's the biggest thing.
Seriously, this is like the highlight of my weekend, my week, maybe my month. I don't know. Luke, you haven't even played golf yet this year. You got to be jonesing for this stuff.
I know it's been a bleak winter. It's been a bleak new unexpected off season for the Curtinine golf game. But I'm very looking forward to this, obviously. And I know it's a bit nerdy, but I'm especially interested to see how Rickie Fowler's swing looks. And I know there's probably a tepid amount of caring amongst you guys for this, but there's actually been quite a lot of hype around he's been putting in a lot of work these past 2 months. He really wants his major. He's serious about this. All these other guys are taking it easy, and he's going hard. So I kind of want to see what this is all about. Let's see what Rickie has at his disposal.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too. One of the first things I did when we went into quarantine was you know what? I'm going to work out. I'm going to do sit-ups. I know Dylan's been doing yoga. I think this is Rickie's kind of version of becoming a better person through quarantine and just getting a new golf swing. But it's kind of risky, right?
Yeah, I think it's a little risky, but I don't know. I don't even know why I'm saying that. No, it's not risky. We argued about this just the other day. I don't think improving yourself is a bad thing. The same way that I don't think that eating a little healthier over the past 2 months is potentially a negative for your golf game. I think Rickie's gone out. He's decided he wants to hit it further, hit it better, win that major finally, and he's gone out and done it. How is that a bad thing? He's got a great coach, John Tiller. He's a golf top 100, by the way. So I think he's made a right decision here, and I think he's been quite smart about it.
All right. Well,
LKD, you look like you've been living that healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, we won't criticize it until we see it, though, because Rickie's got a unique golf swing, and if he starts playing, I don't know, a little wide at Seminole, he can get in some trouble. We're going to bring in Alan Shipnuck, a man that we were promised we were going to get. Finally, 5 minutes into the show, we get Shipnuck with that great hair. Shippy, how's it going in California?
Wow.
I had a few tech difficulties, but that's the new reality here of our life as reporters, where we're at home on Zoom and these other platforms. So I'm here. I'm happy to join you guys, and I'm looking forward to this event. We got the first tee shot right here.
All right, Dylan, I need you to step up to the plate here. 10 push-ups. Yes or no, Rory McIlroy hits the fairway?
Oh, wow. I'll take you a step further because in my prop bets column for Golf.com, I said all 4 guys were going to hit the first fairway.
All right, so if Rory misses the fairway, you're doing 10 push-ups.
All right. I'm going to disappear from the screen.
Rory just hit the fairway. Spoiler alert.
You guys are ahead.
Oh, the fairway's gigantic. That's one thing that's true about
It's like the widest fairway. It's like the widest fairway this side of the old
All
course.
right, I'm going to do 10 push-ups right now. You guys carry on the conversation.
Shippy, do you have any Seminole inside info for us?
No, sadly, it's one of the few citadels in the game that I haven't been to. I've been invited a few times, and I just haven't been able to make it work. So I'm excited to see it on TV. I hope to get there soon. But all my insight is from talking to other people and reading about it and all that sort of thing. But it's going to be neat to see how it plays. As with many classic ballparks, it's way too short for the modern game. And with some rain that's taking the fire out of the greens, I think we're going to see a lot of birdies and eagles flying, and that's okay. It's a fun exhibition. But whether proud Seminole can offer any sort of defense remains to be seen.
So Matthew Wolff has the handlebar mustache, and he's wearing a pair of tie-dye golf shoes. I think he already wins the day here.
Is he in? Oh, yeah, okay. Wolff is fine. I think this first hole is proving that you can just about hit it anywhere at Seminole, and you're going to still have a look at the green.
Is that in the rough, though? Did I lose my bet?
It's close. It's close. You know what's cute is, when was the last time these guys carried their bags, right? Because not only do they have caddies on tour, either they play in a cart or they go to places that have club caddies. So I would love to know how many years it's been since any of them hoofed at 18 holes with a club on their back.
Yeah, apparently Dustin Johnson can't remember. So there's that. Jay-Wall, tell us about these equipment setups.
Yeah. So again, as you mentioned, carrying their golf bags. This is not something we see. It's kind of cool. It makes you feel like this is a camera following your buddies around. They're using what most recreational golfers have. It's a stand bag with a stand, so when you set it on the ground, the legs pop out. The TaylorMade guys, there's 3 of them. You've got DJ, Rory, and Matthew Wolff. They're carrying TaylorMade's new Flex Tech light bag. Weighs 4 pounds, $220. It's got a 4-way divider for the top of your golf clubs, 8 pockets, so you can fit everything in there. Rickie went with a little bit of a lighter golf bag. His is the ultralight Sunday bag from Cobra. It weighs just 3.8 pounds, which is crazy when you think about how light and durable these golf bags are, but he can still fit everything in there. And I think that's what a lot of golfers are starting to realize is, with social distancing practices in place now, you need to be able to have a carry bag, because push carts, from what I've heard, they're sold out all over the place. So might as well get on board and buy one of these ultralight golf bags that the TaylorMade guys and Rickie's using with the Cobras.
The push cart mafia, I swear, is going to triple in size during the coronavirus, right?
So, it's really funny how life works. I got my first ever push cart I think in February, before all this stuff started. And it's fantastic just to roll up to a course, pop it out of the trunk, throw your clubs on. If those of us who are slightly out of shape and don't play as much as we'd like to walk 5 miles with 25 pounds on your back, it takes a toll. I'm fully invested in the push cart lifestyle now. You got a little tray for your snacks and your phone and your sunblock and your rangefinder. It's just, to me, it's not just a piece of equipment; it's a lifestyle. Which I don't.
Well, you're a single length irons guy. Are you kind of into all the fads, Shipnuck?
They're not fads. I'm 5 years ahead of everybody else there, Sean.
Oh God, this is a beautiful sight. Watching Dustin Johnson, the 6'4" athlete. That's one thing that we don't get from these golfers. We don't see them lifting unless they're posting a workout video. Like you're gonna show, I don't know, a little bit of like what these guys are like when they're playing normally. I don't know, I'm amazed to see these guys carrying clubs. It feels so raw.
I love it.
Shippy's right though. This isn't even normal for these guys. These guys like zip around and play, 18 holes at Seminole in like an hour and a half. I feel like, and I guess not Seminole because you don't really drive at Seminole, but they're used to just zipping around the Bears Club and in no time. So I feel like DJ definitely looks a little bit out of place, just hoofing it with that bag on his shoulder.
Out of place? Matt Wolff's Fu Manchu, whatever he's got going on with his facial hair. Matty Wolff, I think he shaved it yesterday morning. He's doing that as part of the kind of good vibes charity relief here. I think he pulls it off.
I mean, I like
it. Well, you look at his partner.
Look at me. We've all gone a little crazy during quarantine, so I respect his statement he's making.
If you look at Rickie, I mean, that's like the all facial hair team. I mean, remember Rickie like grew his mustache ironically, and that was like 4 years ago. He never really looked back.
That's one of the things about facial hair. Once you get it, you kind of like it. You stick with it. Shipnuck's sticking with his despite whatever the internet's telling him.
U.S. Open rough, baby. I'm getting it ready for November.
All right, Rickie's going to have a good look at birdie on the first.
Now here's another thing. Like for Dustin, he has to do all the math himself. So we may see some balls are 20 yards short and 20 yards long. It might not be an error in execution. It could be a math issue.
We do these things at Golf.com called Tee to Green. It's a little Tee to Green internet video or interview video. And I was there with Dustin Johnson out in California. The guy basically carried his own bag there, knew what the number was. As long as he knows his numbers, I think he's going to be the MVP today.
Now, Rory does have an advantage at Seminole because his dad, former bartender, is now a member. They play a lot of golf at Seminole, so I'm sure he's seen this course more than any of the other guys. And it is one of those quirky design, golden age designs with a lot of runoffs, a lot of slopes. Knowing where to miss and where to try and get up and down from, and that helps. So I think that's worth about half a stroke for Rory.
Well, I think these teams are basically even on the first green. Rickie and Rory are both tight. DJ and Wolff not so tight. If we had to pick, Dylan, what did you pick in your skins picks? Pick them.
I mean, I stuck with the favorites. They're just so much
That's
better.
So lame.
Well, look,
hey, dogs.
I'm trying to win our readers some money here. I'm putting my ego in the closet, and I'm just out grinding for cold hard cash. Matt Wolff on the long drives. That was my other pick for the people. But yeah, I took the favorites. Look, they're just better, especially in a skins game. Those guys make so many birdies.
Okay. I'm going to talk you off the ledge here. Why? Because if you think about look at this format, right? We've got the first 6 holes are all 50 grand. They basically don't matter. Now, of course, if they all build up and you win all of them, then of course they matter. But there's so much money back-ended with these skins, especially at the 17th and 18th hole, that you can play horrible golf. Wolff can suck, and he can make an ace on 17, and all of a sudden he's going to win all the money and probably a lot of the skins and win this match for the team. So I think when you have all that in mind, the randomness kind of comes out to a lot closer to 50-50. And if I got 50-50 odds, I'm putting money on the plus juice.
Yeah, and I think you also have the issue of, Rory said he went 7 weeks out of the club. He's just kind of rounding back into shape. You have to assume that Matt Wolff knows that he doesn't have the same credentials as the other guys, and he's been grinding hard because this is a big moment for him.
Well, that first drive flared way to the right.
Yeah. Well, sure, there's going to be some nerves for him. He hasn't played on these giant stages like the other guys, but I would guess his game is the sharpest. And we know that Rickie's been playing 36 a day every day, it seems like, on Instagram. So I feel like that team is probably a little more golf ready than Dustin and Rory, but we shall see.
Well, he talked about that. Let's get his thoughts on being underdogs queued up, because Rickie and Wolff are both ranked outside the top 20. Wolff is outside the top 100. But Wolff sat down with our Ryan Estelta and talked about being an underdog this week and kind of, I don't know, his thoughts on how they stack up against DJ and Rory. We're going to try to, at least.
Are we still on, or are you playing?
We're still on. We're still on.
Awkward. This is awkward, Sean.
Slight technical difficulty. I might have ran with that a little bit earlier than we were supposed to,
but can we talk about how funny it is to see these guys in shorts? Like, of course, they do it in the pro-ams, but those aren't really televised, and we're barely paying attention. But to see big time golf, where sluggers in the background and Mark Russell and the whole world's watching it, and they're out there in shorts, it just looks a little odd to me. I mean,
right, who looks best? Rory's got a woven belt. I don't know why he does that. Why did he use the woven belt? Like, Rickie can kind of pull off everything.
I mean, I don't want to stray into the Phil category of critiquing calf muscles, but
why not?
I would just prefer to see these guys in trousers. That's just me, though.
All right, so there's Wolff.
I'm taking some notes. I might need to do some pruning myself.
Shit, like, you had all day to pull this off for Golf.com and you didn't do it.
That's a good look. I mean, he looks like a 1998 relief pitcher for like the Atlanta Braves or something.
Shit, like, you guys do have similar lettuce up top, though, right? That flow just.
Yeah, and I'm a quarter century older. So I mean, let's be honest. Whose mop top is more impressive? I think it's quite clear. But
is yours still jet black?
There's a little
feathered.
But
all right.
I'll take it.
Well, it looks better than Dylan, who desperately needs a haircut. I've been telling him that for weeks.
Start calling him Fuzzy. But by the way, now we're
mullet. This is really going to be my question for you.
Now they're coming to the second hole at Seminole. I mean, what a cool look! With you going over the water, you've got sort of the scrubby hazard areas that bleed into the bunkers. It's really well protected green. I know a lot of people. The second hole is one of their favorites on the course. So, the palm trees. I mean, there's no doubt this is golf porn we're getting to enjoy here.
The good stuff. I'm a little worried I'm spending too much time looking at you guys and not the golf course. Is there a course at this Is there a course in the world that people can look to and be like, oh, that's kind of like Seminole, or is this thing totally unique?
Well, I mean, it's a flattish Florida golf courses with water and palm trees and sand. So there's it's not totally unique, but it's a lot more elegant. It's a lot more refined, a lot more interesting, and beyond that, it just has such a mystique going back to the Hogan years and Sam Snead hanging out there, and the Harmon family, and now Bob Ford. And
all right, 10 more push-ups. Yes or no?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Well, look, he's trying to bust this thing down there, so he's a little more likely to miss the fairway, but he's still going to hit it.
Oh, it's going left.
Jeez. 10 more push-ups for me. Gosh.
Zoc is going to be
It's a
shredded.
good workout day for you, Sean.
Hey,
Shippy, I feel like me.
Zoc is going to look like Bryson by the end of this.
Shippy, what's your ranking of good Florida golf courses? Is it possible to have an elite golf course in the state of Florida?
There's a lot of good golf courses in Florida. Are there any great ones? I mean, that's the question. But, certainly Seminole would be at the top of the list, probably along with Sawgrass. Even if it's not your cup of tea, it is a great championship course. you have your what is it, Calusa Pines and some of those places, but what the highest point in the state is 37 feet above sea level. It's like flat golf courses are a challenge. The terrain makes a golf course usually, and now there's some tremendous green complexes at Seminole, and you've got a lot going on there. So, to quote Robert Trent Jones, was it minimum land, maximum architecture? So I think this is an example of that.
All right. Well, it looks like Matt Wolff is going to win the TaylorMade long driving competition. Dylan, that's a check for you. Way to go about that one.
I mean, yeah, if you want to talk about some prop bets, I cashed in first when Rickie showed up on property, not wearing orange pants. Told you it was a mortal lock. And then here we go. Matthew Wolff already cashing in on some live long drive cheddar, unless Rickie hits it like 410 right now.
All right, let's bring in Joe Plecker.
Not that extra.
Joe has played Seminole, so that makes him the only person in our fivesome right now who has played Seminole. Joe, tell me, how do these guys swing as hard as they can and hit the ball straight? Because whenever there's a long drive competition that I'm in, wide left and wide right.
So the one thing that all these players have is they've matched up their body and their swing type. And when you look at the variety of swings in this group, you might say a Matt Wolff swing, incredibly upright, and Rickie Fowler's incredibly around. They're perfectly suited to their body. And what they've done over time is they've enhanced their workout, training with their coaches, club fitting, and getting patterns in their golf swing that they can swing as hard as they want and get there. Now, sadly, Sean, you're not quite there yet.
Not yet.
We can work on this. But ultimately, when we look at the elite and the top of the pyramid is playing today, these awesome ball strikers, we look at how their bodies are built. And, I see a player like Rickie, who is what we call a low track player, and he swings the club really well around his lower body. And that is his fastest path right there. And when we look at a player like Rory, who's a little bit more upright with the swing, well, Rory does some incredible stuff on the downswing, we know, with his lower body, and tilts back away from the target, and he hits his bomb draw, as he calls it, from there too. So when we look at players hitting it hard, centeredness of contact, number one for everybody that plays the game of golf, hit the center of the face. That's where the club's made to go the fastest. I'd say the next one from there, get the path of the club working around. And when you hit with driver, the more square the golf club to a little bit closed, that's going to max out all of your yardage.
Now, one thing that Golf Channel was talking about, they had Brandel Chambly on before the match today, and he was talking about just how different all four of these guys take the club away. Like you said, Rickie, a lot flatter. Wolff has his very interesting and unique swing. And then Rory and DJ, they are similar but very different. Like, when you look at these four swings, they look different, but what is a couple similarities that these guys all do properly and I guess have made them elite players?
Yeah, it's a great thing to look for. And as we watch the golf today, take a look at the players' right hand. And so they're all right-handed golfers, and look at how their right hand is on the golf club. And when you see a player that's got their right hand maybe a little bit more on top, that's going to change how they release the club coming down. That's going to make them do a little bit more on top or a little bit steeper plane. And when you see a golfer that's a little bit under, well, they're going to really bend back and tuck that trail elbow and have more of you might say, a classic finish to the release of the swing. And Matt Wolff, the most amazing separation, his trail arm goes back very on top and changes massively to come back down. And so I think that's an incredible characteristic, a unique thing about the players individually that you'll see. What that does, Sean, is it makes the lower body work differently for golfers. And so Rory's going to spin really hard. So is DJ. Matt Wolff, a lot of rotation and launch. So you see him lift, literally jump up when he hits it. And you watch what you're going to see with DJ, again, an incredible spinner through the golf ball. So this is a great look at, again, the on-top takeaway, and watch that right arm and elbow tuck deep into the side on the downswing. It's a massive change in the club. Beautiful golf swing.
Yeah. If you saw Matt Wolff on a driving range somewhere and you didn't know who he was. You're like, wow, that's one of the crazier swings I've ever seen. But bottom line is it's repeatable, right? Like,
Yeah.
I guess that's certainly a takeaway with Matt Wolff is just like muscle memory and practice can make everything work as long as club head meets the ball exactly where you want it to.
Yeah, and the ball flight is everything. And as coaches, we really want to always see the pattern. What's the player hitting? What shots do they want to hit? And I think if Matt Wolff is a unique swinger today, you can go back to Jim Furyk. And Jim Furyk's father, a PGA pro, was asked his whole life, well, why haven't you changed his golf swing? And he said, he hits it any way he wants to. Why would I change that? It matches what he does. So thank goodness, Matt stayed true to who he is, works with a coach like George Gankis, who allows him to be who he is. And it amplifies what he can do with his body. So I would always say ball flight first, match the structure of that golf swing, and then repeat.
No, that's a pretty good strategy. These guys are on the second hole. Now, you've played Seminole. What are your takeaways about the golf course and kind of what people can, expect to see throughout the entire course, not just the front nine?
Yeah, well, you saw a really cool shot on the first hole. Matt Wolff, he hit it in play, but he had a very difficult angle to the flag, and even with the wedge, he couldn't create enough spin or landing angle to keep it on the green, so it ran off. And you'll see a lot of that. Even though the fairways are wide and you'll get the ball in play, you've got to be looking at the hole from a correct side of the fairway to stop it. Below the hole is best. And I just saw a ball go over the green here on 2. Yep. That's death. That's going to be a hard hit right there too.
356 yards, Matthew Wolff off the tee.
Unbelievable.
All right, Luke Kernine joins us again. LKD, you are a fan of weird golf swings. You're a tinkerer yourself.
Yeah, no, I'm in a good spot right here with all these funky golf swings. But you know what? I'm a fan of funky golf swings, not because they're funky in and of themselves, but because I enjoy learning about how they work. Right, the same way that I'm not a car guy, but the same way a mechanic will be fans of different types of engines, because it's interesting to see how they all come together. Ultimately, I think that was something that I was a real range rat growing up, and it was something that I never quite appreciated enough when I was young. I sort of thought it was very, very much like point A to point B. The way you get better is by ironing out your individualities, because individualities are bad. Because that was just sort of the era in which, or the context in which I started swinging golf club. But I actually think that with the rise of new technologies, specifically like ball tracking technology, like TrackMan and all this other stuff, we start seeing coaches not care what it looks like if the numbers are good. I mean, Joe will be able to speak to this better than I will, but at the end of the day, the reason why somebody like Matt Wolff exists is because he can hit drives 340 something yards on command, right? Like, who cares what it looks like? You're just trying to match up different movements. You're trying to generate as much power and repeatability as possible. The route in which it takes is secondary to all of that. And that is, I think, a direct product of TrackMan technology versus, say, just having a video camera there where you're looking at different types of things. So I think it's been really good for golf, and I think it's one of the reasons why we're actually seeing more unique golf swings come onto the tour.
It makes me feel good about my golf swing, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? You can sit in the bathroom and look against the mirror and try to imitate exactly what Rory McIlroy does. But bottom line is, for a lot of people like us, if you don't have tens of thousands of hours to commit to the game, which a lot of us don't, you just have to kind of work with what you got.
Yeah, I think that's true, Sean. And I also think that, what the pros are essentially trying to do, right, is they're just trying to match themselves up. They're trying to add specific movements into their golf swing, which will either counteract other moves in their golf swing or help bring more power to these other moves in golf swing. That's what they do at the PGA Tour, but it shouldn't really be any different than what we're doing down here, right? If you're hitting the ball left or something, all that is really is that you're doing basically two you have 2 left moves in your golf swing and not any right moves. All you need to do is add like a right move in there. It doesn't mean breaking it all down, exploding it all, taking all the component parts and gradually reassembling. Sometimes it's just a tweak that's required.
All right. Well, we just saw Rickie hit it apparently too good out of the bunker on 2. 2 is a tough hole. Holy cow. 480-yard par 4.
That's that over the green again. Getting over those greens. It's such a hard shot, and it's even from that perspective. Rickie had a little bit of ball below feet to get it up over a lip to a downhill green. It's a lot more difficult than it looks.
It looks like Wolff is going to have a good opportunity to grab the first. Well, I guess the first 2 skins. Someone's got a little race going on. LKD, are you out near the road?
I am. The road's just over there, so apologies. Apparently somebody's drag racing in Stamford, Connecticut right now.
Well, now that I have you all here, I want to apologize because I played a match against you recently with 15 clubs in the bag, and I tweeted about this. A lot of people got excited and said that I'm wrong and I need to pay you all back on Venmo. I took care of it yesterday. I broke my 3-iron, so I no longer have 15 clubs in the bag. I now have 14. So.
Yeah. Sean, this seems like a good chance to kind of check in on like your golf game and what's going on with you here.
I'm dealing with a lot of anger management issues right now.
How did you break the 3-iron?
Well, let's say this. We turned the driver around yesterday, and we had a very good drive on a par 5. We're about 217 yards out. So we pull that 3-iron. The ball's a little bit below our feet. We top it.
Never mind. I don't want to hear this taking too long. Let's watch the gal. Let's watch it.
DJ just sailed his first putt past the hole. I kind of want to see these guys grind over some 3-footers today.
What is the gimme arrangement here? Can you pick it up when you're told to? You have to hole it out.
Well, birdies are worth some money, so the more that these guys want to donate to charity, they should be giving putts all over the place.
Yeah.
That's true, but we're going to see a bunch of par skins, huh?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, Sean. So then you top your 3-iron and you decide to snap it over your knee?
So I top the 3-iron. It dribbles into the hazard, drop another ball. So I hit this big wipey fade nowhere near the green. And I threw my 3-iron at my golf clubs, snapped the 3-iron.
Hate to see it.
Yeah, you do. I don't know if I needed that club in the bag anyways. Better than the 7-iron.
I would hate to see it if it wasn't for the fact that Sean beat us via cheating and then admitted it to the world. So I think this is karma coming around.
It was a classy move to admit it. It was channel of Bobby Jones there. Like,
all right, we've got a couple questions coming in. One is it weirder to see tour pros wearing shorts or carrying their own bags?
Carrying their own bags, I think, right? Yeah. I mean, shorts has become pretty normal. I just don't understand why tour bags like this. I mean, why tour bags are such a thing. Like, I don't understand why people aren't more using standby more. I don't want to hear this excuse about they can't fit all the stuff in the bag. They are fitting all the stuff in the bag.
No, like, it's for advertising purposes. They want more acreage for bigger logos and corporate partnerships.
3 more inches to say like TaylorMade versus like a bag they can actually sell to people. It seems just like it seems like a overlooked sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean,
we have a very alternate take on Seminole. Al Noble has commented on Facebook, "What Core Crenshaw did to this Donald Ross design is criminal." I've not heard that take anywhere.
Wow, it's interesting. Criminal. It was interesting hearing Rory was waxing poetic about the whole vibe at Seminole. He was saying, he was taking some shots at American golf in general and American country clubs. He was on the McIlroy Golf podcast this week, which was pretty awesome. But he was saying basically it's a pure golf club. There's no pool, tennis court, country club vibe. Guys roll in, they hit some balls at the short driving range for a few minutes, and then they head out and play a pretty serious round of golf. Maybe not serious in like no laughing sort of way, but serious in that he said it's one of the most engaged memberships and one of the highest golf aptitudes of any membership in the country. So
how can you measure that?
Well, I guess you could measure it by handicap. I think this is a little more of a vibe than a strict handicap deal. What was Bamberger dug up? Which golf course had the most major championships of any this week? And it was a shocker. Yeah. Oh, Josh Sens dug that up?
Yep.
I mean, I wouldn't have gotten that in about 100 guesses.
Holy cow! You can hit it everywhere on this place and still hit the fairway.
This is Dylan's kind of course.
Yeah, my kind of course.
One of the things Rory said was how it's cliche to call a golf course a second shot golf course, which it is, but this would be one of them.
Everyone.
I mean, it's like a lot of courses from that era. You know, Pebble Beach is really wide off the tee, but again, you have to keep the ball below the hole, and the greens are really small and well fortified. There's many other examples. I mean, as we just heard from Joe, it's the modern buzzword of width and angles. I mean, Seminole, it shows that concept's been around for 100 years. It's really about you can smash it any way off the tee any way you want, but if you're on the wrong side of the fairway, it's going to make the next shot so much more challenging. So these guys are freewheeling it, but they definitely have a target, and they're definitely trying to do the next shot easier.
Luke, do you see something different about Rickie Fowler's swing? Looks normal to me.
I've actually just been screen recording a few swings and breaking it down. So Rickie Fowler's coach, who switched to at the end of last year, is this guy John Tillery. I think he's like a very, very good golf coach. Basically what Tillery does, like Kevin Kisner's been his guy for years, right? And so that's kind of gives us a bit of a context about what he likes to work on. What Kevin Kisner has, pretty tight little arm swing, but like very stable lower body, very focused on like creating torque with his legs and weight shift and all that nerdy stuff. But anyway, so I think that's what I'm looking for with Rickie Fowler's golf swing. It's like obviously like to an instruction nerd, it's going to look a lot different than just to your regular guy, because everybody's going to look at his laid off position and say, oh, it looks about the same to me. And frankly, like it does, but I don't think that's what he's working on. The big thing I notice is that his left heel is coming up off the ground at the top of the backswing. Look closely next time, which isn't something I remember him doing more, which means he's trying to shift more. He's trying to get more that way, right? So his left heel's coming off the ground. And then when I see it coming through, look at how much jump there is in his left foot the next time he takes a swing, because it's full on like snapping coming off the ground, kind of Matt Wolff style, which is really interesting because it did it a bit before because everyone does it, but now it's like actually coming off the ground and moving. So and that sort of fits the profile of what John has some of his guys work on, right? It's like a lot of sequencing stuff. So that's what I'm noticing, and I'm pretty sure I'm right, but I'm going to text John and make sure I'm right. But, just take a look.
I've heard there are polarizing takes on Mr. Tillery as coach.
Yeah, like and that's coming from what, Brandl's interview?
Maybe from Dylan.
A month or so ago, where yeah, it's coming from what Brandl's thing where he was saying, well, Rickie, why would he leave Butch? But that was more of a pro. I think what Brandl was trying to say is like, why would he leave Butch Harmon versus like John Taylor? Because he actually did say in the interview that John's a very good coach. He just didn't really understand why Rickie left Butch, which, why would anybody leave Butch?
In fairness, why would you?
Sort of a fair,
right? Is there ever been a more consistent in delivering championships like swing guru than Butch Harmon?
Yeah, but Butch was Butch was a little frustrated with Rickie. You don't know exactly how that played out, but he had questioned his commitment and Rickie's love of being a celebrity as opposed to major golf champion. So it could have been that Bush helped initiate things. So when the breakups go both ways, and you're right, Butch's record speaks for itself, but sometimes the personalities don't mesh, and sometimes you just need to hear something fresh, and it goes both ways.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like sometimes you just want a fresh voice. You've heard everything they have to say. But you see this in all sports, right? Like good coaches get fired all the time from professional football teams or whatever. Like the whole like, oh, well, why would you let him go when you know he's good? It's like sometimes you just need you need to shake things up a little bit. I don't think it's a bad thing by any means necessarily. It certainly doesn't mean Butch is a bad coach, and it doesn't mean that Rickie Fowler's made a bad decision, because it's just not quite that black and white A and B, right? Like if we were to follow their logic down the road of why would you ever do that, like Tom Coughlin would still be coaching the Giants, right? Like it's sometimes you just got to mix things up, and I think I'm not going to bang on Rickie Fowler for doing something that he thinks is giving him something to commit to that he thinks will make his game a little better.
Rickie's at an interesting point in his career right now. I mean, I don't want to say that the guy has peaked, but he's definitely going downward in terms of the rankings. He's ranked 27th in the world. He was once kind of a top 10, top 12 guy forever. So it's definitely an interesting spot.
Talk about Luke making football references on here.
I know. I'm shook. I'm shook.
Tom Coughlin. Luke.
Well, I was going to say Brian Clough. Like, why isn't Brian Clough still managing Nottingham Forest? But I'm not sure that reference would be delivered.
All right, Dylan. Rory McIlroy from the fairway. I'll give you 2-1 odds on 10 push-ups if he hits the green.
All right, so you're doing 20 if he hits it?
Yep.
25 and you're on.
All right, deal.
255. I don't know if we're matched up on the broadcast here, but looks like he's setting up to maybe hit a cut.
And he has not made the green. Give me 10.
All right, guys.
Can I just point out that Rory hit a hybrid, which is something that's kind of come back. It's a little bit in vogue this year for a lot of the big hitters out on tour, and this is something that we haven't seen from guys like Rory and DJ over the years, pretty much for the entire career. But this year, Rory and DJ both put TaylorMade's Sim Max Rescue in the bag. They both admitted they had never tested rescues until this year. One of the reasons why they like this one over rescues that TaylorMade's come out with in the past is this one has a very flat lie angle. And what that means for guys like Rory and DJ who swing really fast is they don't have to worry about that hook. That's a lot of the reasons why fast swing speed players, better players don't like hybrids, is because they don't want to see it hook. So flatter lie angle is going to give you more of that kind of fade shot shape, and they've been able to find it this year. But it's kind of cool to see elite players like Rory using a club that you see a lot of amateurs use. And here's DJ using it.
Yep. DJ also fanned it a little bit right, but that was the number. Landed pin high. Wolff is in some deep trouble.
J-Wall, I had a question for you. Is there one – is anybody using a non-TaylorMade club right now? Or is it like all 14 clubs, or in Sean's case, all 15 clubs in all 4 bags are all TaylorMade?
No, well, so Rickie Fowler uses TaylorMade's TP5 Pix ball, and it's got this really cool-looking design on it that helps with alignment. He actually helped work with the TaylorMade guys to create it. But he's a Cobra staffer. So
that's right.
Yeah, 13 of the 14 clubs. The only one that isn't is his Scotty Cameron putter. And cool story behind that, I'll tell really quick. That actually is a Tiger Woods backup putter. Rickie went to Scotty's headquarters, and they were looking for a Newport 2 for Rickie. And they started milling around through the shop, and they found this box, and Rickie opened it up, and he pulls out a bunch of heads, and they just happened to be old Scotty Cameron Newport 2 GSS that were reserved for Tiger. So Rickie's putter has some Tiger vibes.
Wow.
Can we take a moment to appreciate how Matt Wolff is about to make an 8 on this par 5?
He will not make an 8. His ball is going to be in his pocket.
It's fantastic. I mean, see, this is the thing. When you have 156 players in the field, they only show you the leaders who are hitting great shots. Yeah. But when there's only 4 guys out there, you're going to see the bad ones too. So it's kind of a fun thing to see someone blowing up. And,
it's even more fun when they blow up and they have to pick up their bag and make the walk like he's doing now through the dunes.
The walk of shame. I know, it's great.
Yeah, it's way too real, man. I was playing by myself late last night, and the sun's going down, and it's everyone's had that feeling. It's beautiful, kind of lonely, but the perfect kind of lonely. and I was playing like crap. And I'm like, God, I need to get off this golf course. But then again, I had to go carry my bag up the hill, and that's real golf, man.
Well, it's the punishment. When you're at a position on a hole and you're trekking through the woods and the dunes, having that big heavy bag on your back makes it worse. Cruising down the nicely mowed fairway is easy, but it's part of like the Calvinistic aspect of golf, where when you're struggling, having to carry your own bags makes it that much harder.
Zach already had his 3-iron in 2 pieces in his bag to kind of remind him of that too.
I just want to know, where in the world can you get 6 people? This would be a hexabox, right? We had 6 people involved right now talking about golf. Plecker, have you seen anything from Rickie's swing, this new cool golf swing that stands out to you?
Yeah, I was kind of looking at the launch. A lot of what we think is in old golf thinking. Everybody needs to stay down and stay in posture and rotate. And Rickie's definitely engaging some verticals. He's spinning and launching, and those two things, when combined with the right release, are terrific. And I think a point that I think about the golf swing, and at least when I look at it, the arms are really powerful, and they tend to be the thing that close and steepen a golf club, and really that punch the golf club out. And the body's job is to counter that motion and to create some rotation and to create some extension that allows that to extend into the golf ball. And Rickie looks to me a lot more active when he spins and is beginning to extend. And before, I think he was a highly rotary player, just spun, stayed in posture, really torqued all the way through the shot. But seeing now a nice rotate and rise motion, looks very fluid, really solid through the bottom of the golf swing.
Well, he's the only player on his team that really has a chance to make a run at these skins. DJ and Rory are both up near the green, so they definitely have the advantage right now.
What are we thinking about the golf course so far, how it looks and plays? My first impression is that I'm bummed the fairways are not firmer, but it still looks like squirrely enough around the greens to keep things interesting and a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are struggling. Almost 3 holes in. Haven't seen a birdie yet, and I don't know what their cumulative score is over par, but it could be some nerves, could be some rust, but so far Seminole looks like it's getting in their head a little bit, which is wonderful.
I'm definitely having these same feelings I have every year when there's a big tournament going on at a course I've never been at. You just have these urges. I need to play golf like right now.
Got to finish the live stream first, Doc.
Yeah. Matt Wolff, move on to the next tee.
You should have to carry everybody else's bags after this
Yeah, I
performance.
think you should have to carry Rickie's bag.
See, right there, I think you can see the result of the rain. If these greens are baked out, that ball would be tearing back towards the flag. They got almost 4 inches the last 2 days, so it's definitely softer than we like to see Seminole, but it's an outdoor sport. What can you do?
Yep.
I mean, I'm just
Shimmick definitely first person in the he's got the most up-to-date feed. We'll catch it up to him.
what strikes me about the whole place is that, Florida golf courses, one of the hallmarks of Florida golf is that it's flat, obviously, but one of the other hallmarks is that it's lined with condos, and that's like truly what is the worst part about Florida golf and why it's generally kind of looked down upon. But this has got some weirdness to it. It's wide open. It's got these funky sandy lies that honestly I don't remember seeing anything look quite like this on televised golf before. But the lack of houses is a big check mark in the right right box for me.
Stand shot from Dustin. Wow, that was class.
Yeah, DJ and Rory, advantage early. Not good for my money.
Can we also take a moment to acknowledge that Mark Russell's wearing slacks, loafers, and a tie?
On brand.
That's old school, baby.
Wow, that shot from DJ was incredible. As much as I did put a little money on the Oklahoma State boys, I have so much confidence in Dustin Johnson. Like, he could sit out for a year and a half, pick up a club and hit it right at the flag. I think the guy is an absolute robot, and I think he's showing it early.
I once asked him that. It was in the context of Tiger when he was, I think it's 2017 when he was missing so much time with injuries. And I said to Dustin, if you went a year without touching a golf club, how long would it take you to get it back? He said, can I train, in between, like keep my body in shape? I said, yeah, sure. He said, 1 round. Get serious.
Isn't that maddening? For all of us who have taken off, a month or two from the game with the coronavirus spread and have just started out getting back out there, it's so maddening to me that people like DJ exist, where it's just so simple.
Yeah, well, J-Wall, can you speak to this about it sounds like he basically gets fitted for new drivers in 2 swings.
Yeah, he's always been like that. The funny thing about DJ is he's gone through stretches over the last couple of seasons where he has switched drivers and he's won that same week. I think I went 2 years ago. I think he won 3 times with a new driver each time. So he just switches back and forth between, because TaylorMade has 2 different models. They've got one that has an adjustable weight in the bottom and one that's for a bit more forgiveness. And DJ's found that depending on the course and the conditions, he has, more success with one version or the other. So he'll go back and forth between them. But yeah, I was tracking his changes and found out that usually, and again, this is maybe for the bettors out there, if DJ is changing drivers that week, it might be a good opportunity to put some money on him.
DJ can do no wrong when it comes to just showing up and winning golf tournaments. All right, well, it's going to be 3 skins for the McIlroy DJ squad. The Oklahoma State boys, Matt Wolff and Rickie Fowler, I guess you'd call them underdogs, but a lot of these first holes don't matter. We caught up with Matt Wolff earlier last week to see what he thought of the match between 1 versus 5 and 27 and 110.
We're hearing that we're underdogs from pretty much everyone, Vegas, the betting odds and everyone like that. But in our opinion, we really don't think we are. It's, it's golf. Anything can happen on any given day. And I think that we're both going to be ready. Rickie obviously is really confident in himself, and so am I. And, DJ and Rory are 2 of the best players in the world, but I believe that I am too. And Rickie obviously feels the same way. So it's just going to be a lot of fun to go up against them and compete, and most importantly, raise money for COVID relief and first responders. So that's the most important thing about all this.
All right, now he teased out some interesting info there. The format of this is important to remember at all times, especially at the end, because the first 6 holes are each worth $50K. And then 7 through 16 are each worth $100K. 17 is worth $200, and then 18 is worth $500. So, despite Dylan being in a good spot with his money on DJ and Rory, me not looking like I'm in a great spot with my money on Rickie and Wolff, it doesn't really matter right now. What matters is what happens on the back 9, and that's where it gets really interesting. They have back-to-back par 5s at 14 and 15. You're going to see some guys really go for it there.
Yeah, but Zach, it's nice to get some money in the bank.
Yeah.
You're right, it's backloaded, but you win enough on the front 9, and it gives you plenty of cushion to play with.
I just want to see if we're going to get $1 million skin out there.
Oof. Yeah, what does that require? How many carryovers at the end? A whole bunch?
If 18, 17, 16, 15, 14 are all tied, you'll have at least $1 million in the line at 18.
What happens if they have extra skins left over on 18? Do we have one of those Tiger Phil 95-yard under the lights chip shot holes?
That is a good question, and a very plausible one. We could have 7 skins on the line because when you have 4 elite players, you're going to have a lot of the same scores being made. So we could have a little trouble situation later on.
I'm really studying Dustin's beard, as someone who's new to the beard game. There's a lot to be learned here.
Yeah. DJ's kind of rocked that chin strap for most of the decade now.
This is really filled out, though. This is a, beard. This is a next level beard.
Kind of interesting, Rory and Dustin on that tee shot on 4. Rory taking the left side of the box, playing his sweeping draw back in, and DJ lines up on the right side of the box, and normally he'd play that low fade, and he just started it outright, hung out there on him the whole time. But it's interesting to watch where the players are lining up on the box to play their shot shape. And as Matt Wolff takes the center, you're probably going to see him just go for that high draw that's going to play to his favor.
Oh, it's just hanging out there, but it's
beautiful.
Just killed down the middle.
I mean, it's such
no curve.
Yeah, such a big fairway. These guys are definitely free swinging it, but
the Fu Manchu definitely adds to the gunslinger vibe.
No doubt, he's got a little Baker Mayfield thing going on. Joe, if you were building a player from scratch, what type of shot shapes would you have them hit off the tee and then on their approach shots?
That's a great question, and the answer to that would be I'd start with their miles per hour to really see what's their club head speed, and if it's ballistic at these crazy high driver speeds that we see, probably leaning towards a bit of a fade, and meaning that getting the golf ball in a consistent pattern for them to play is very good. And when we have higher club head speeds, we like the ball to spin more level. And as speeds go down, and a lot of players I coach are humans, they're normal humans. They don't have 120 mile an hour driver speed. We like to get a little curve to their drives, and we favor a draw a lot of times for that right-handed player to get right to left to maximize their carry and then their yards after carry that they can get for their total. So crazy high swing speeds off the tee. Might like to see that player flight it down and play a little fade. And then as we get to players that want distance at the club level, try to get them to get a little bit more into out, a little up with the driver path into it, and create some draw ball flight.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to see guys in the top 5 in the world take dramatically different approaches to curving the ball. I was thinking about bowling the other day. You look at the top levels of bowling, I say as a bowling expert.
Didn't even know that existed.
Most guys are playing the draw. I mean, basically in the same exact way. But golf, you got guys hitting the power fade. You got Rory hitting the slinger. It's cool.
Look at how the turning, right? And you've got Dustin Johnson, who by all accounts, one of the strongest left-hand grips on tour, and has a wrist position at the top, a bowed wrist that further closes the club face. He has so much rotation in his body. He has so much ability to turn, and that opens the club that he hits a fade. So if he didn't do those two things, have an incredibly strong grip and bow his wrist, he might hit it so far right that he wouldn't be where he is today. But it's an amazing matchup of club face positions and body positions that do this. And you can see that left-hand grip super strong on the golf club and bowing, curling it to the top. But look at the left side open up massively, making a beautiful balance for that, and actually a fade ball flight with the strongest grip and a bowed wrist. It's a beautiful combination.
I'll never forget the first time I was within 10 feet of DJ hitting a driver. It's just something incredible. It ended up being Wednesday practice round at Oakmont, the 18th tee. I think Shipnuck wrote about the essence of watching Dustin hit driver that week when he won. It was kind of, your game story was kind of focused around just how incredible golf can look, how easy it can look when you drive the ball so damn well.
But also one of the things when you go to a lot of tour events, and Dustin's driver swing is usually accompanied, he smashes it. There's a moment of silence, and then there's giggles, there's laughter, because people in the crowd are it's like this overwhelming sensory experience, and they can't do anything but just laugh because it's so incredible. And yeah, that you flatter me, Zoc. That was a lead to my game story from Oakmont, because it was that was one of the greatest driving weeks ever at the U.S. Open, and that was what I remember following Dustin around, is on every tee box. It was just kind of the same ritual, just tittering like, oh my God, this is just unbelievable. I can't believe I just saw what I saw. And so you're not the only one who experiences that sense of wonderment when Dustin is really swinging out of his shoes.
How beautiful was it there seeing DJ have to spit on his club and clean it with the towel? Oh, that's golf, baby. Let's keep talking about DJ a little bit now. We talked about Rickie. Like, he's at a kind of an interesting point in his career. He's peaked, and hopefully he can peak again, but he may never peak again. Rory has probably had one peak in his career, but he's in the middle of another peak right now. Best player in the world. DJ, he continues to win PGA Tour events, but like Shibnick and I just discussed, that one major is now four years ago. And, you know, he probably could have won at Shinnecock. Probably should have won at Shinnecock. Could have won at Bethpage last year. Could have won at the Masters last year. But he's almost kind of rescinding into where he was prior to Oakmont, where it's like, the guy's really good, but do we expect him to actually win?
Well, you look at the last decade. I mean, it began really at the 2010 U.S. Open at Pebble, when he had three-shot lead going into Sunday and shot in the 80s. And then, as you said, he had all those chances in 19, didn't get it done. I mean, Dustin was knocking on the door at major after major for a full decade and only picked off one. Now, U.S. Open at Oakmont is pretty macho, but to this point, you have to say it's been a disappointing career, despite what he's managed to do on the margins, winning tour events. So, yeah, he's now 35, and the window's not closing, but he's definitely one of the elder statesmen out on tour now. He has 5 to 7 years to be the player we all think he's supposed to be, and that just flat out comes down to winning major championships. It doesn't matter how many more LA Opens he wins. His legacy will be defined by what he does or does not do in the majors. And one U.S. Open victory with all the chances he's had is frankly disappointing. And
yeah, I wonder if he gets style points, like you said, the macho-ness of Oakmont. I mean, that's cool and all. If he would have won at Baltusrol, maybe people wouldn't have been as excited about it. But Oakmont feels like almost like 1.5 majors.
Yeah, no doubt. There's certain venues mean more. You win an Open at St. Andrews versus Royal Lytham. I mean, it just means more. Same with Oakmont. But nevertheless, that's all he's got. And it's time to step on the gas. You know, he's had some physical issues, which happens when you get into your 30s. He's got little kids. You know, life gets harder, not easier. So this is really the critical moment for Dustin. Is he going to be one of the great what ifs in golf history, or is he going to fulfill his destiny?
Yeah, and he's not going to play forever. I mean, he told us last year that he's got 10 more years and he's going to retire at 45. He's going to stop playing golf, which feels kind of on brand for DJ. That's just a little bit. I mean, hopefully for him, he feels like the clock is ticking. But then again, does DJ really think about legacy? It doesn't strike me as a legacy kind of guy.
Well, no, but he's prideful. I mean, getting to number one and being there for a while meant a lot to him. Like that was meaningful to him. I mean, he's one of those guys who's always growing up was the best at everything he did, and he wants to be the best at what he does. And he knows that there's one measuring stick that matters now, and that's the majors. But I'm sure we've all been watching The Last Dance, right? And on the continuum from Scott Burrell to Michael Jordan, where does Dustin fit in? I think we all know that. And so it's really interesting. We know he has the tools. Can he summon a little more grit and desire? I mean, that's one of the biggest questions in golf, because he could be the most dominant force there is, but it just has never really happened.
We're in the middle of a commercial break. They're definitely pumping commercial breaks here, and you can't blame them. We haven't had PGA Tour golf live on our television screens in more than a month, almost 2 months. So we're definitely getting our fair share of marketing dollars thrown at us right now.
Yeah, I mean, these formats are tricky, right? There's the whole like forced trash talk thing is always going to be a tough sell. It seems like Rory's the main guy talking so far. Wolff's trying to get in there a little bit, but he didn't look super comfortable in the first few holes. Hopefully they're all going to kind of ease their way into this thing. But I mean, it's a tough format. It puts a lot of pressure on these guys at all times because there's a lot of airtime to fill.
We should tip our cap to Rory. I mean, that shot he just hit into 4, that's the best shot of the day so far. So looks like he's in for a kick-in birdie, but yeah, there hasn't been much pyrotechnics yet. I mean, they're just easing into the golf, but that'll add some electricity if these guys start really hitting some great shots.
This 4th hole actually sits up high on the dune that play away from the clubhouse. So this is actually kind of a high point on the dunes. And legend is, I think, at this part of the golf course, this is where Ben Hogan liked to come and practice some shots to get ready for the Masters. That he'd bring a shag bag out to this point and hit into some corners of the greens here to get him ready. So this is a cool spot. You can see the elevation as you look over the shoulder. There's actually some high rises in the distance there. This is a Florida hill. This is one of the biggest sand dunes probably in the state here, but it's such a cool place in the back corner of the golf course.
Those distant high rises remind me. Chicago Golf Club. This is gonna be a little of a humble brag on Shipnook because he's never played Chicago Golf Club. But there's a couple high rises that you can see out in the distance from Chicago Golf Club from like one tee box, and the person who owns those was allegedly tried. A couple members at Chicago tried to buy the sky high rises so that they could tear them down so that you could see no buildings around Chicago Golf Club. But the owner wanted nothing to do with it. He actually is okay with people on the private club being able to see his buildings.
Now let's see if Rickie can wheel this into the hole. Yep.
Now, a couple of people have been asking, where in Florida is this course? And we responded with Juno Beach. But if you're not from Florida, if you don't spend time in Florida, you don't really know where Juno Beach is. Dylan, can you kind of describe actually where in the state this is?
Well, I mean, it's right near the international capital of professional golf. I mean, Juno Beach isn't too far from where the whole Jupe crew lives. It's on that east coast. It's, in the greater Palm Beach gravitational force area of pro golf where, most of the top 10 players in the world live. So there's a ton of competitive golf around there. You always see names pop up of guys that are playing at Seminole. Barack Obama, I think he made a hole-in-one there last year. Larry Fitzgerald plays there. Tom Brady just joined there. It's funny, though. It's hard to figure out much about Seminole. It pops up every year because of this famous Pro-Am that they've got, and every now and then you'll see like an Instagram from there, but there's no website. There was, until now, no YouTube footage of it anywhere. But anyway, it's over there with all those courses and all those guys that you always hear about. So when we're talking about Florida golf and PGA Tour players, Seminole is right in there.
All right. Well, I'm going to give another question away to Luke Curtinine because we got Elizabeth Costantino wondering, what is a skin?
The skin is just a win on a hole that has a certain monetary amount tied to it, right? I think that's the official definition, right? Well, not the official. I think that's an appropriate definition, right, boys? So basically, like, if we're all playing a match, a skin is sort of what you're playing for on that hole. So maybe $20 and maybe $5, whatever. And if you have the outright, if you have the lowest score on that hole, you win the skin. And if Sean and Dylan tie with birdies, for instance, then the skin gets carried over to the next hole. So instead of it being worth $5, it's got the previous $5 hole attached, so it's now worth $10.
What is our functional difference here with this being a skins game instead of like just a 4-ball? I'm trying to think of how that's actually, because we don't see 2-on-2 skins games particularly often.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess it's effectively the same thing.
Throwing money at it, right? Just kind of add money.
Yeah, it's like whichever pot the money goes into, right? It's just is the team element of this.
I mean, theoretically, there should be a birdie bonanza. I mean, if you have two people on a team in a skins game, there's a high premium on making birdies to win the skin. We haven't seen it yet, but as these guys ease into the round a bit more, hopefully we will.
Some people are very anti-skins, aren't they? Like some people really hate them.
I would call myself one of those people.
Really? Well, let's explore that, Sean. Why do you hate them?
I feel like in this format, one guy can play horribly the entire day. His buddy can play phenomenally. And then, Matt Wolff comes down and makes an ace and wins 12 skins. I feel like you could be very undeserving of a victory and kind of luck your way into it.
So we'd play a skins game where if you did that, somebody played horribly and the skins rolled over and one player has a lucky hole. We always used to play in our group a thing we call validate. So that means on the next hole, that winner of the skin had to make a par or better to keep the skin.
Ooh, I love that.
So it was a great way that we decided to say, hey, we just tied 10 holes and you had one lucky hole. Now you got to validate. Go out and par better the next hole and you can keep the skins. And if not, they all went back in the pot again. So it's a good way to do it.
I don't know. That's to me the fun part of a skins game is timing, and it doesn't necessarily reward plotting consistency. I mean, there's a moment and you have to seize it, and validating sort of to some degree takes away from that. The essence of the skins, like you just got to step up at exactly the right moment, and we'll see how this plays out. But it does seem like oftentimes it's the guy who's not been the best or most consistent golfer in a given round. They find a little magic at the right time, and that changes the whole outcome.
All right, Dylan, 10 push-ups on the line. Does DJ hit the green?
Man, I'm just monitoring the grief that NBC is getting right now for bringing Bill Murray onto the telecast. DJ is hitting the green, though. I don't know if you already saw what happened or not. I did not.
Just rolled off the back. Give me 10.
Have you guys seen these reports in the New York Post and other places that the president is allegedly joining the broadcast around the turn? It's going to be
cool.
Interesting, no doubt.
Because we will be logging off after 9 holes.
It'll be a smooth transition, I guess.
I hope somebody says, Mr. President, is it true that you built your golf clubs in Florida because you could not join Seminole? I think that would be a great way, a little chin music to start the interview.
Oh boy!
But that's one of the things about the Seminole mystique is it's not for the new money who's just shown up in Florida in the last 20 years. I mean, it's definitely an old time club, been around, forever, and Florida has this gold rush mentality, but Seminole does not reward that. It's really for an old timey golf crowd, and just because you built a big condo on South Beach, you're not getting in the club, and that's part of what makes Seminole.
Yeah, that is interesting because a lot of Florida, is at least where there's a lot of money in Florida and that West Palm Beach area. There's a lot of showiness, big houses, ostentatious clubs, but then there's a few places that are a little more understated. Seminole is definitely this old school. I guess guys would come down from the Northeast, like have New York guys coming down there for decades and posting up at Seminole and just playing their round of golf and having a drink and going home. It doesn't really have all the glitz and glamour of the other newer age places in the same way.
I would like to see a Venn diagram of members of Mar-a-Lago and members of Seminole, and it probably looks like this. I don't think there's much overlap.
Is Seminole far and away considered like the undisputed best course in Florida? Like I know it's been ranked that way, but is it like, is it just generally considered like by far number one?
Yeah. I mean, there's kind of the four pillars of elite golf clubs in America. It's Augusta National, Pine Valley, Cypress Point, and Seminole. Not saying they're the four best golf courses, but those are they're the centers of gravity in those parts of the world. And Seminole is in that category. It really is, because of its history, because of who's played there, because of Bob Ford presiding over it as the longtime head pro, who gets to play there, and why. It's a very elite place. Now, are there better golf courses? For sure, but as a scene, as a club, as the prestige of joining, Seminole is in the same category as a Cypress or a Pine Valley or an Augusta National.
Yeah, it is number 34 in the top 100 golf course rankings by Golf Magazine. Just trying to scroll right now and find another Florida course. It's going to take a little while. There's no other top 50.
It's got to be Sawgrass comes next, right?
Yeah, Sawgrass is usually in the 50s or 60s on those lists.
Another cool thing about Seminole is a long time ago, their head pro was a guy named Henry Picard. And Henry Picard was a real gentleman pro and a very good player. And, wear the tie and +4s, and some really good stories I've heard about Pick as a teacher and as a player. The old pros, the role of that person was to be an excellent player and an excellent teacher first, which is really different in the golf business today. They've always had excellent golf professionals, excellent players, excellent teachers, and Seminole's a place that just continues that tradition. So I think in a lot of ways they've remained true to how they started. But Henry Picard was an amazing coach and teacher. He actually had some influence on some mentors of mine, and some things he taught way back when, before TrackMan, are still being taught today.
So number 34, like I said, Seminole in the top 100. Sawgrass is 68. So that was a drop down from the previous ranking, and just kind of goes to show you, as much as Florida is a destination for a lot of things golf, it is not the greatest golf state in terms of the best courses in the world. But I'm not telling you guys anything you haven't heard before.
Well, it was like we were talking about before. I mean, it does not have great golfing terrain. There's no mountains, there's no foothills. The coast is flat.
Their courses are going to be underwater in 50 years, maybe.
Well, yeah, that's an issue.
A sad discussion, but that's one thing that we have to cherish Seminole for what it is right now, because it's a course that might not be here in 100 years.
Man, that just got dark.
Sorry.
Yeah. Wait to bring down the mood, Sean.
All right, wait. We had a question dropped in from Facebook about who you'd pick in the of these four guys. What would be the order we'd pick for skins partners? I mean, it's hard to turn down the top player in the world, I guess, as your top guy. But
I'm taking DJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like I said earlier, you might not. The guy could go in a bunker for a month, come out and make a birdie in front of you. Like, it's no big deal.
But you know what's interesting is I've always said that on Tuesdays, Rickie Fowler might be the best player in the world, because he takes a lot of money off his tour colleagues in practice rounds. There's a lot of stories about that. And if you call around Florida, he has the course record at a bunch of places. He's dropped many 60s and 61s. Rickie, he gets it done. Now, for whatever,
is that on brand?
It hasn't happened at too many tour events or at major championships, but the guy can flat out play. So, if we're talking a skins game, just among pals in a casual setting, I might go Rickie.
Yeah, I agree, Alan. Rickie has a very good overall scoring average, but he's by far the best putter of all these guys. I mean, there are days when Rory just can't buy a putt, and he's obviously in incredible player, and so is DJ. But I think for skins, you want an element of that streakiness, right? And you want guys who are just going to go on runs where you're just making a ton of birdies, which Rickie Fowler does. And even when he's not necessarily feeling it, he's just, he's always usually up there in the birdie rankings. He's a great putter. He's pretty consistent even when he's not. So I actually think he'd be a great skins partner.
Will he win a major? It sucks when you have to reduce people to a number, being at 0 or 1 or 3 majors or whatever. But unfortunately, when you are the golden boy before Spieth and Thomas came around, that's kind of what Fowler was. I mean, he was on the Ryder Cup team super early in his career. He was the kid that we were expecting huge things from. And here we are a decade later, and we haven't had those big things. So it stinks that we have to reduce him to a yes or no on the major count, but that's kind of what it is in the elite professional golf world.
I think he will, though. I think he'll get his major at some point. He's sort of got to get on it fairly soon. But I do think it'll come for him. I think he's just too good a putter. And I just think the biggest knock against him, though, is that, you do like to see guys kind of winning. And I just think there's a lot of stock to be put in just winning. I don't care where. I don't care where it is or how you do it, but that's sort of being the biggest knock against Rickie. But I do think he'll sort of pop up there in a major, probably like a PGA or something. And
he's gonna pull a Sergio. I think it's gonna be when we least expect it for Rickie. It always seemed like for years there was all this pressure on him to win one, and we're still asking now when if ever is he going to win a major. But I think I could see him pulling a Sergio and doing it when we least expect it.
Well, I think Sergio confirms any biases like that Luke would have in this, right? Generally, people do get their major. Some people don't. Colin Montgomery would be one of them. Some people don't. But generally, they do eventually. And so the fact that it worked for Sergio in his later 30s, I think that it's all Rickie has to believe in for the next 7 or 8 years. Then it'll get really dicey and be like, okay, this guy doesn't have it.
How about this? They flash to the cameramen in the background and they're all wearing masks, and obviously the players are not. I wonder how much discussion there was, and it actually would have been an amazing public health statement if they wore masks during this thing.
I totally agree. I mean, these guys, I think, are doing a lot of things right. They've got one person handling the flag, and they got one person raking any bunkers. So, that is a future that we could totally see on the PGA Tour. They have an opportunity here to do everything right. Could they have been wearing masks themselves? Sure. There probably was a discussion, Alan. You have to think that the broadcast doesn't necessarily want that.
No, I mean they're all good-looking, telegenic guys. You want to see their faces, but especially since this is not a run-of-the-mill PGA Tour event. I mean, this is a special event for COVID relief. If you're ever going to throw masks on, even if they're logoed with Puma Cobra or TaylorMade or whatever it may be, it could, or PGA Tour logo, even for the first hole. I mean, that would create a lot of buzz. It would have been a pretty powerful statement. So. I don't have strong feelings on the matter, but it's an interesting juxtaposition to see the cameramen have them and not the players who are doing all the talking and who are the stars of the show. Yeah,
I think we have a pretty good look at what tournament golf could look like. Not a ton of people are paying attention to this. I feel like I'm the only one, but there was a 150-person field in South Korea women's event this weekend, and you saw everyone besides players wearing masks. Every single person, caddies, anyone that was out there carrying this any scorers or rules judges or anyone, they were all wearing masks. The players, some of them even wore masks when they were walking between shots. So that's kind of what I think the future could look like.
Yeah, it is interesting because I was just out at the Scottsdale Open mini tour event in Arizona, and it was very casual. I mean, nobody was wearing masks. And probably that's just Arizona. I went to Trader Joe's and maybe a quarter of the people were, here in California in my local one, it's 100% and gloves. And so it's very regional, and certainly Florida seems to be pretty relaxed based on the messages coming from the governor, and we're seeing the photos of people on the beaches. So partly because this is being taped in Florida, I think that took away some of the impetus. But if this had been held in California or New York State, you might have seen guys wearing masks. So that's another piece of the puzzle here as we look forward to golf coming back. It's where the tournaments are being played, I think, will have some effect on how these issues are handled.
To that point, though, Alan, I mean, I think that the more studies we see, I guess, come out, the more it seems like playing golf outside can be a safe thing if done the right way. And probably the most dangerous part is, coming and going, seeing people in the pro shop beforehand or the parking lot afterwards or whatever. So, I mean, I don't think players necessarily need to be wearing masks while they're playing, but seeing someone roll up to the first tee, walking up with a mask on, seeing Tiger Woods do that would go a long way.
Speaking of Tiger, he's going to play next weekend. That's when we'll see him play. But I just started thinking the other day, the tour's going to come back in 3 weeks. It's Colonial, and then it's over to the East Coast, and then it's Detroit. Where is Tiger going to play his first tournament? Is it at the Memorial? They might have fans. That's going to be hectic. Like, things are going to get eased in, hopefully, at the Colonial, and then all of a sudden, it's going to get very real, and we're going to see some guys making some important decisions. And Tiger could lead the way, I guess.
Well, he's not a guy who's going to play 4 tournaments in a row. From talking to some of the PGA Tour guys who are at the Scottsdale Open, a lot of them are looking at like these first 4 tournaments are almost a separate part of the schedule. Where if you can play one, you might as well play them all because you're inside the bubble, and you've already presumably passed various protocols, and there's the charter planes to get you from one to the next. So it's going to be I think we're going to see that guys are going to go hard when they show up on tour. It's for 3 or 4 weeks in a row. Then they'll go home and get away from it and be with their family. But I think how players approach their schedule will change because it's a big deal now to show up at an event and have to pass the protocols and everything that goes with it from a safety standpoint. And so Tiger, a guy who just don't want to play back-to-back tournaments, that he's going to do things his own way because he has to, but more like a Dustin, a Rory, guys who are young and healthy and don't have surgically reconstructed spines, how they handle the scheduling will be very telling.
All right, we've got DJ hitting from the waist area. Rory and DJ are up 4 skins to 1. They have the early lead. I know Dylan isn't quite counting his money yet, but
no, I mean, honestly, if you're looking to hop on Rickie and Wolff, this could be the time to do it because functionally, I mean, the whole thing is still up for grabs if they win a bunch of these big-time skins late in the game. I don't know how good Matty Wolff looks at the moment, but he could easily find it.
He certainly has been the worst of 4. Could you agree on that?
I mean, off the tee, he's hitting at some interesting places.
He's missed another green, so number 4 up to 4 is living up to that.
This is one of those things that Sean struck me when we were doing some of these Masters rewatch pods for your pod, a pod unlike any other, which people should listen to. But when we were watching Norman blow that Sunday lead, and you see like the black mesh cowboy hat starts to go from being like kind of a cool, intimidating look to just starting to look ridiculous. I think, to about 5% of that, Matt Wolff's whole facial hair vibe is a lot of fun until he can't find the planet off the tee.
Yeah, that's the kind of facial hair you got to back up with good play.
That's true. Well, Rory is backing up his number 1 ranking right now. He's just hit it tight in the 6th hole. This is the last of the $50,000 holes. Then it gets to $100,000. So that's kind of feeling where things get interesting.
I think we saw Steve Sands and DJ get a little close on an interview before, and it looks like they're pretty cognizant of that now as they go to this next interview here with Jimmy Dunn.
Well, and just a quick thing on Jimmy Dunn. We were talking earlier about Seminole's place in the pantheon among the elite clubs, and Jimmy Dunn is reputed to be the only guy on the planet who's a member at all four: Pine Valley, Augusta National, Cypress Point, and Seminole. I've never independently fact-checked it with him, but that's what everybody said.
How does that happen, Alan? For people who have no idea what it's like getting a membership at a ridiculous place, ridiculous being a pretty harsh word there, at an exclusive place, how does one man get all of that?
I mean, you're well-liked, you're a good player, you move in the right circles, you show up at all the invitationals and the member guests, and it's hard to say why it's him versus anybody else, but everybody loves Jimmy Dunn. He's one of those classic characters. He's a raconteur, he's a great storyteller. He's a really fine player, plays quick, makes a lot of birdies, very generous playing partner. So it starts with you have to be a good player, you have to be really well liked, you have to be of a certain station in life. You got to get into the first one. The first one's the hardest, right? And then you're kind of in the club. And there is a lot of overlap among the really great clubs. Like all the guys who are members at Cypress, well, not all, but a lot are members at San Francisco Golf Club and Monterey Peninsula Country Club, and the East Coast guys. If you're in it, if you're in Seminole, you're definitely in some of the Northeast clubs. Whether it's a Pine Valley or it's a Fishers or a Sleepy. There's a lot of cross pollination. So Jimmy Dunn is just taking it to the illogical extreme and joined all four.
Yeah. Well, isn't that kind of how these like super exclusive clubs work? Like a lot of people think, oh, I'd love to play Seminole. I play it every day. But the truth is, like, that's not really the expectation, right? Like if you're a member of Seminole, it's there for special occasions, special groups. Like I don't think you can really be a range rat at a place like Seminole, Cypress, or Augusta National, right? Like isn't it?
Maybe Seminole more so. I think Augusta National is definitely that way, where I think you might get some funny looks around the club if you really are there with guests like every weekend. But I don't know, Shippy, you might have a better sense of this.
Well, but also, if you're a person of certain means, you don't live in Florida 12 months a year. Like, those guys disperse when it gets really hot. So it's certain times of the year you're in certain places. And, you don't want to be in Seminole from now until September. So then you go to, a different spot that's a little more inviting temperature-wise and everything else. So to your point, Luke, most of these really great clubs only have a small percentage of local members. I mean, at Augusta National, maybe 10% live in the Augusta area. Cypress Point would have more if it's a 150-mile radius. There's a lot of Silicon Valley and San Francisco guys, but there's not a ton who live on the Monterey Peninsula. So, yeah, that's one of the tragic ironies of these amazing golf courses. They don't get used that much because the members aren't there that often.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have finished 6 holes. It is 5 skins to 1 in favor of DJ and Rory. Not exactly a surprising result at this point, but they're building a lead. Let's go to Matt Wolff again. We sat down with him just last week. He talked about this course and kind of what he likes about it and everything that everyone can see on TV from the course they don't really know.
I don't know. I've never really been a trash talker. I feel like I'm pretty strong mentally, and I kind of just let my game do the talking. I wouldn't say that I like to get in people's heads or I'm not the best trash talker either. I've tried it a couple of times with my buddies, and it really doesn't go over well. Obviously, I can trash talk them because I'm better than them, but Rory and DJ, I don't know. It'd kind of be hard to say that, I have more of a resume or anything than they do, which obviously I don't. So, no, I don't think there's going to be much trash talking. I think it's going to be maybe Rickie will lead that in a sense, but they're both really cool guys. Obviously Rickie, I know Rickie really well, but DJ and Rory are just super nice and fun to be around. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and maybe I'll blow a couple drives past them and say something, but that's about it. Yeah, actually, I played with John Powers, and one thing that he said was the putting is really important there. The greens are definitely very undulated, and there's a lot of slopes, and they're pretty hard to read. But luckily I have Rickie on my team, and he's arguably one of the best putters in the world. So that'll be a big advantage to us. But Another defense that it has, since it's right on the ocean, is the wind. And so I'm not really sure what the weather holds for us yet, but if it's windy, it might be a little tougher. But yeah, we're gonna see how it plays. I'm really excited. We actually, in that pro member, we ended up finishing second, so I played really well there, and I really like the style and the look of the course. So I feel pretty comfortable there, and it's my swing and my game feel really good as well.
Feels almost ironic because he has not played all that well to this point, but there's a lot of play here. They're teeing off on the 7th hole, and everyone has been in the fairway this far. So this course is it's perfect for me, Dylan. You know I spray the ball all over the place. I would love to play here because I would not lose anything.
This could be therapeutic for you, although this would test you around the greens, I have to say, Sean.
Yeah, after a few 4 putts, that putter would join the 3-iron in the graveyard.
We're ramping up the cash here, though. Sean, what if I told you you could get your boys Wolff and Fowler at 2-1 right now?
Gosh, I would take it. Double down. Why not?
It's gonna be the time to flip.
I mean,
this was like the old skins game. It's part of why it went out of business, is because the money was too small. I mean, $100,000 to these guys is nothing, right? Especially when it's not even their money. I don't think it's gonna. There's not much interest picked. They need another 0 on there per hole, and then it might add a little friction. But
then it's gross, though, Shippy. It's a fine line. I think that was one of the weird things with the match last year with those pictures of Tiger and Bill. Like,
no, I know, but this is all going to. Well, totally. The big difference. This is going to charity.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
The bigger the money, the better. But ooh, Dustin, this putt's worth $50,000. Don't choke. You know, that's what he makes for finishing 48th at a WGC. Like, I think the dollar figures should have been a little bigger here, just from a marketing standpoint. You know, the players aren't keeping it anyway, but it's just hard to really get too engaged in the money because it's so small.
You know what they should have done is had taken all the Jordan documentary hype, and they should have invited Michael Jordan to do this. That's when the money would get real. He wants to play everyone for what makes them uncomfortable. At least that's what Rickie Fowler says.
Play him at Grove 23, Jordan's new course, not so far away. Joe might have some intel on that place. I don't know.
The only thing I've heard about Grove 23 is that it's amazing, and they like to play in the style that MJ likes to play, which is everybody gets their own cart. Everybody plays their own playlists on their speakers, and you play fast and you get it around. But I've heard it's just top conditions, incredible practice facility. The feedback I've gotten is it mimics real shots on the golf course, which is cool. Unlike so many practice ranges that we know that are just flat with flags. Supposedly it's got some amazing shot variety, and you could hang out there for days and not get bored on the range.
Sounds like Friars Head. I was happy just at the range there. I didn't have to go play the course. Like a practice facility like that's well thought out and it offers variety is just so much fun. So where is the Grove compared to Seminole geographically?
So what was the question? I'm sorry.
Where's Jordan's joint compared to Seminole? Just as a pro?
It's south. It's south in Jupiter. So Jupiter is. Gosh, not a far drive at all. So it just maybe half hour, 40 minutes up the way. Pretty close.
The list.
I'm excited for one of these guys to get tired. Carrying a bag, 18 holes. It's gonna happen, right?
They'll be stretching out the physio because their backs are all tight on about 13 because they haven't carried in 20 years.
I mean, we're kind of joking about it, but isn't that not a real thing? That's a concern. No?
maybe, sure. I mean, they're all in pretty good shape, right? Like, they're not middle-aged, out-of-shape sports riders. They ought to be able to hoof it for 18. But who knows?
Have they been? Do you think the caddy, not having the caddies there, is influencing players playing either up or down? You know, we think a lot about a caddy's the numbers, but the caddy's that sort of partner, that's that voice, that's next to you. That's either, hey, calm down, or hey, let's go get him. It's interesting how it might affect play out there for these elite players without having that trusted person in their ear.
I think just that sense of normalcy, because obviously these guys are used to playing on their own without caddies, but then they're in carts, they're just with their buddies, they're zipping around. Now, once there's scrutiny, there's cameras around, I think it would really help to have someone like a caddy that you can, just get settled in with. The other thing is, I bet these guys are a little bit cognizant of, staying 6 feet away from other people. I'm sure they've been told 100 times by the tour and by the event's organizers, hey, this is a bad look if you guys end up high-fiving or getting too close. So I'm sure that they're just a little bit more on edge than they normally would be, and the caddy piece is probably a part of that too.
That's an interesting point, as we look ahead to the PGA Tour Golf coming back. These guys are all so persnickety in every possible way. They are like finely tuned instruments, and the new reality of golf in the COVID era, everything's going to change. Everything's going to be different. And setting aside this little exhibition match, when you get to Colonial and the real golf, how guys handle the all the hassles and all the distractions and all the new reality is going to be as important as their golf swings. And so this is a small little taste of players being out of their comfort zone, having to do things differently, and have to battle through that. And it's going to accelerate when they get to Colonial and the tour has all these protocols and everything's different. So it is a fascinating thing, because we know how easily these guys get out of their comfort zone, even in the older reality, and everything's changed now.
Yeah. Speaking of life in a bubble, these guys are all in a 20-foot bubble around the seventh green or seventh hole. They've all hit it tight, so someone's going to make a birdie. We might have 4 birdies. Things are getting slow, I guess, out there. I mean, we're going on coming up on 2 hours here, so this is going to be about a 4.5-hour round for these guys. Feels normal, I guess.
It does, except the whole emphasis on Seminole. There's such an obsession with fast play. I remember Rory said that on the first tee, there's a little sign that says, play well, play fast, play poorly, play faster.
Yeah, I love that.
They're not into it if you're playing 18 in more than 3 hours and 40 minutes, which not the case today.
Well, the next time we see them on the screen, they're all going to be putting. Joel, I wanted to ask you about Dustin Johnson as a putter, because he has to be – well, he's one of the greatest golfers, I think you could say, of all time. But he has to be the greatest putter, or the greatest player who has never seemed comfortable with a putter. But he's always working through something with some new putter. It's amazing to me. Yeah,
he usually has anywhere between 3 to 4 putters in the bag whenever I'm out on tour. It's if he only has one in the bag, I'm concerned, because I'm wondering where the other putters are. But it's always seems to be a game time decision for him. Over the years, he's had a lot more success with a mallet putter, and the mallet that he's using is a TaylorMade Spider Tour. And, that one seems to have given him the most success. But, the one thing with DJ, and I think a lot of golfers can, nod their heads in approval here, DJ just loves the look of an Answer style blade. It's just one of those things where, it looks familiar to him. He's used it for years and he just can't get away from it. So he's constantly just having this internal struggle with, okay, the mallet's better for me, but the blade looks better. And that's why he just has usually, one of each in the bag, and he just kind of picks one based on how he's feeling. But yeah, it is kind of maddening, because DJ he's putted well before, and then he's gone right back to the blade putter. So I think that's just kind of his MO when it comes to the flat stick.
I can sympathize with someone who just really wants a blade. It just looks so normal. It looks like the mini golf or the putt golf you used growing up. If you ever needed an example of DJ not being comfortable with whatever's in the bag for the flat stick, It's that he switched putters at the Ryder Cup. He was out there tinkering at the Ryder Cup after the Tour Championship, trying to get comfortable with the putter. I mean, if you ever needed to have something that you could rely on in terms of the putter, it's that week. So DJ is just a maniac with that stuff.
That's one of the things, he's just a flatliner, and I just don't think that he really cares. Most players would overanalyze a situation like that and, weigh the pros and cons of switching to a mallet or a blade putter right in the middle of, the Ryder Cup. But I think for DJ, he's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. I'm just going to put a new one in the bag today and see what happens.
Well, we had one missed birdie putt from Wolff. Now a DJ with the mallet.
Yeah, all three of the TaylorMade guys are using the Spider putter. DJ's using an older version, the Tour version I mentioned, and Rory and Wolff are using the Spider X that has an alignment system on the top that's just supposed to help you kind of zero in on the cup. So it's been a very popular putter for them.
So DJ made par because he had hit it.
Rickie, finally.
Rickie makes a birdie, so a chance at a skin.
The funny thing is, at this point, and I don't know if you guys agree or not, but I'm not really that invested in the skins game. I'm just happy to watch them out there hitting shots. Are we supposed to really care who wins? I'm not feeling it. I'm not even really keeping track of the skins. Am I a bad person, or does
no
feeling?
If you're a bad person, then I'm a bad person too, because I feel the same way.
I think it's a bit of a gambling event in the sense that, it's sort of an excuse for people to get invested on one side or the other, because you're totally right. I mean, I think the best case version of this involves seeing some cool player interaction, seeing some great shots, and showcasing an interesting golf course we've never seen before. I mean, the match, maybe we'll get some great late moments, but yeah, definitely at this point, it's pretty tough to get super invested in that.
Well, Rickie and Rory split with their birdies, so we will move on with the. If the Oklahoma State boys win the next hole, they will even this thing up at $750,000. So that's where this thing's going.
Where's public sentiment here? Who's America's favorite?
Favorite golfer?
No, in this matchup.
I think it's Rory.
Yeah, Rory and Dustin have the star power, and America is a country obsessed with celebrity.
I would challenge that more Americans would know who Rickie Fowler is than Dustin Johnson.
Of course, more people would know who he is. It doesn't mean that he's their favorite.
Well, I don't know. Farmers Insurance fans.
Yeah. Well, they got the marketing guy in Rickie. One thing you gotta wonder is, like, Jason Day, is he a little disappointed he couldn't be involved here? I saw him tweeting about it earlier.
John Rahm, was John Rahm not available?
I think just the proximity of everybody down in Southern Florida makes it easy to have these four guys. But
I don't know. I don't think they want Rahm's brooding presence on what's supposed to be a kind of yuck fest. Like, great player, but I don't think he exudes feel good vibes out there on the golf course, and that's what this is all about.
He might even be the most fun. I mean, if you start looking at what Dustin Johnson's bringing to the broadcast here, Rob's going to do better. Come on now.
I mean, Dustin's funny because people love him, but it's mostly projected, right? He doesn't give you that much on the golf course. If anything, the occasional wooden fist pump. He's pretty somnolent out there. What they love is the idea of Dustin, who's out partying. He's on a boat with Paulina, who's wearing a bikini made out of dental floss, and like people just love the idea of Dustin. But in reality, he's a pretty quiet, introverted guy, and it's the same with Rickie. He's got this really colorful personality in all the TV ads, but he's very shy and soft-spoken in person, and he's just kind of a nice, polite guy. So in their cases, I think the image is much bigger than the reality. Rory's got an edge, and he's a thinker and a talker. I mean, I think he's probably the best hope for some cutting remarks and some actual trash talk. But I'm not sure the other three guys can bring it at all.
We saw Rickie make a couple notions to Rory after making putts, so I have hope still.
Well, they're trying. I mean, they know they're supposed to do that, but across 4+ hours, ultimately, you're just going to be yourself.
What do we think of Rickie's orange cow top here?
Well, look, Rickie's in an interesting spot there, right? Because he made his hay as the orange guy. If you go to tour events, there's kids, there's grown men wearing full orange in Rickie's honor. So he's sort of worked himself into a corner, but I don't think he wants to be fully orange guy anymore. He's 31 years old. So he's trying to figure out, I think, like subtle ways to still, have a nod to the orange without going full orange.
We have a question from a good friend of mine who has asked, who has the best facial hair today?
Oh,
It's Wolff. It's Wolff.
As Dylan said, though, Wolff's look is kind of cool, but the worse and worse that he plays, the less acceptable that look becomes. I mean, if you don't know who Matt Wolff is, all of a sudden there's a dude with a Fu Manchu that's playing with Rickie, Rory, and DJ. Like, who the hell is this guy? Where did they pick him up off the street? He needs to ball out for that look to be more acceptable.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of think maybe it fits the way he's playing today.
Yeah, exactly.
Fu Manchu for that kind of golf game.
it's true. It's far more relatable. I mean, DJ's looks good. DJ's beard, that there's no reason he ever has to change that look.
You know what? I think Rory doesn't share any facial hair because he probably can't grow it well. He's probably like Dylan, where he can't grow a full beard.
I want to see Zach and DJ do clean shave and see who can get a full beard faster. I would put my money on Zach. I have Zach. And DJ's comes back pretty quick, but I don't know if he's beating you.
No, I think DJ might beat me by a little bit. I've actually talked to him about that. He said it grows full in about 3 weeks. He can have it pop in. So that's very quick.
So I was wondering if you guys had any thoughts on this question. If you could pick any tour pro present only for your pro-am partner, it's pro-am Wednesday and you got to play with somebody on Tuesday. Who are you going out with if you got first pick of the whole field?
All right. Well, I'm not going to choose Tiger because it feels too obvious and everyone wants to play with Tiger. And he's probably not even going to tell you that much. I want a guy who's like, you know what? I'm not going to stop after 9 holes. I'm going to play all 18 with you. And he's going to tell me something. I want him to tell me the juicy gossip.
Joe, who do you have in mind? Let's
I've heard from buddies. I've heard some friends that have played in some pro-ams that Boo Weekley was hands down the greatest round of golf that anybody had ever played with. That they were laughing, they were having fun. He was telling stories, and so I've heard nothing but great things. That Boo Weekley's pro-am partners are like, just loved it, had a great time.
You know,
does it have to be current tour player?
Current tour player. I got one for you guys. You know who I'm going out with? I'm taking Patrick Reed. Because
wow, you're going with what? Reed?
Just out of pure curiosity, because when it comes to actually knowing Patrick, I mean, I can't get a one-on-one interview with Patrick Reed. It goes through the agent to the manager to Justine. There's not much interest, frankly, from her to have me interview Patrick Reed. So I would love just a few hours with P. Reed just to really see what he's all about when you get him one-on-one.
Yeah.
Good call.
I got some questions for him.
You know, this is not a sexy pick, but I've had some of my most fun conversations with tour players come with James Hahn.
Oh.
Yeah. He
off the board.
Part of the fact that he doesn't exactly live in the limelight means that he's used to answering questions and honestly doesn't have to really couch his answers. James Hahn always kind of tells it like it is.
Bro, I think we could make this happen. I bet we could just get you a round of golf with James Hahn. You don't need a pro-am for this.
Exactly.
Jay Wall, who you got?
I'll go with the smiling assassin, Victor Hovland. You know, he seems like a pretty fun guy. You know, and it's if you're going to be out on the golf course enjoying the company of a tour player, you might as well find somebody who's going to make it enjoyable. So I think Wolff will be a lot of fun.
High on my list is Keith Mitchell. I've had a couple interactions with the guy, and if you get him going, he seems ready to let it rip. He's kind of like James Hahn in that he is not in the limelight. He's won once on tour, so he's got a slight resume, but he believes in things very, very forthright. I guess that's what I'd call him, forthright. So Keith Mitchell's a good guy on that front.
And one more I'd throw in there from the European Tour. Victor's a great one too. Eric Van Rooyen is a really cool guy. He's a good follow on social, but I think he plays guitar. I know there's a lot of musicians on tour, but really fun, kind guy to talk to, especially on the range. One day I was there and just talked to me, no holds barred, just get everything you can tell about his swing and what he thought about there too. But one pick from the European Tour. But I guess that asks the question too, then you go through all time, who would it be?
Oof.
That might be mine too.
Yeah. Trevino would be, I don't really know who would beat him. It's got all the stories.
Yeah. Tom Kite. I talked to Tom Kite for about 20 minutes one time. He started off the conversation by not really wanting to talk to me. And then I opened it up and said, I kind of want to talk about you. And I talk about your win at Pebble Beach US Open in 92. And then he opened up and it was phenomenal. So Tom Kite is kind of the guy you got to grease the edges a little bit and maybe he gets going.
Andrew Tursky had a similar experience talking to Tom Kite about golf equipment, and Kite initially wasn't really sure if he wanted to talk, and then I think it ended up being about a 35-minute conversation. So seems to be his MO.
I think early Tiger, before he got probably as guarded and jaded by so many people wanting so many things from him. If you got Tiger early on in a Pro-Am, it seemed like he was still having quite a bit of fun just doing everything in the limelight.
Well, we have now made it through the 8th hole with another tie. Pars made by Wolff and by Rory and by DJ. So it's
are we learning any lessons from this broadcast of what we would like to see, say, next week done differently?
Yeah, I mean, next week I think will be a little bit more interactive. I got a feeling that what these guys say next week, the quarterbacks and then Phil and Tiger, what they say will be even more interesting sometimes than what they do. Looks like President Trump is now calling into the broadcast. So if anyone leaves our live stream, I'll understand. But no, I mean, I think next week Tiger and Phil are going to have their second chance to actually entertain us. They did it. Maybe I'll give them a 6 out of 10 when they had the match on Thanksgiving's Black Friday a couple years ago. So I want to see these guys actually be genuine and be out there because they didn't play good golf. And then when they weren't that entertaining, it was like, what are we really watching here?
Yeah, there really hasn't been a whole lot of juice for this match, I got to say. Maybe it was just because it's been a while since we've seen live professional golf, but I had some pretty high expectations for this match. It's been pretty flat, in my opinion.
Well, it might be the result. I mean, let's say this. Choose 4 players that you would want to face off right now. They have to be top 50 players in the world. Rory might be one of them, but I don't think the other 3 players involved here would be in your top 4 or 5. So I don't want to dampen this again with any type of like dark cloud, but you kind of need some exciting dudes to make the non-golf part of it very exciting. And Rickie for sure is not. And DJ probably for sure is not as well. So we're going to take with what we got, but you look at the rest of the top 10 in the world, there's a couple dudes on there that are already a lot more fun.
Tarico's asking Trump right now about Rory's comments this week, which is interesting.
This is what we need, some more controversy.
That's why golf is a particularly, I don't know, interesting sport, because so many people play it, including traditionally presidents. Obama played a bunch. Trump obviously plays even more. And golfers are generally fairly apolitical people, don't really get into it, but I don't know. It's just a weird intersection.
Yeah, it's an intersection that is not fruitful for them in just about every single way, because one of the truths that Rory spoke about is just like, it's a little self-serving for him to say, I don't want to play with Donald Trump again. But then again, if he was offered the opportunity, the first time he was offered, and he said, yeah, I'm not going to say no to the president of the United States. You respect the office. That was kind of the mentality. So like, this stream between us four is not a very political discussion, but Rory and all these guys, like, they have an opportunity to stand for something or and kind of show off what they believe. They're just not used to. They're coached to not do that. That's kind of it's kind of a group think too, where we all think together and we follow each other. So why stray from that line is, I think, what a lot of these guys think about.
Jay Wall, do we know what's in Trump's bag?
I don't. You got me on that one. Usually, even with like some of the celebrities, just because we see them at Pebble and some of the Pro-Am events, I can at least reel off a couple of clubs, but not quite sure what the president is using at the present time.
Fair enough.
We've got a question. What have the players done to stay in golf shape during the past few months? One thing that I've loved is just to see how many of these dudes have a little backyard setup, and just how cheap some of them are with that backyard setup, and how extravagant they have created just little chipping areas and simulators, and Padraig Harrington and Luke Donald putting on their teacher's hat and trying to instruct laymen like you and me and how to play this game. I'm sure that's been interesting to you, Joe.
Yeah, it's been interesting. You hear what coaches like to see and players look for in golf swings, and I think a lot of the good players have stayed in shape by just working on their stamina, making sure that they've got their endurance up. Golf training is not marathon training. It's not to stay at the same pace all the way through. It's actually a burst sport. It's very explosive. So you see the training of players, they go in the gym and they do high weights, short reps, and get the heart rate up and rest and burst again. And that's how you get ready to swing a golf club a lot of times. And the short game goes, we all know that. If you stop playing and you practice in that touch, that goes. So for a lot of these players, it's kind of cool. The backyard stuff keeps their touch. It keeps them hands on club, finesse with the wedge, open in the club face, doing different launches and keeping that feel. So in this time that you get away, I mean, it happens in the Northeast and north parts of the country. Whenever it gets cold for 5-6 months a year, you got to stay in golf shape. And a lot of times that first thing to go is a short game. So the backyard stuff's been cool. And I think it's a way that the players have actually stayed relatively sharp. We haven't seen a ton of like crazy short game shots yet today, but that's probably been one good thing. All the fun backyard stuff and chipping into a cup has been keeping them sharp.
I know Dylan's been doing yoga. At least that's what he says. I'm Dylan's caddy, probably unofficially, and he promised me this year I'm going to do it. I've been told I need to stretch and build some type of elasticity in my body, and
I'm losing speed, Joe. Joe, if you were going to tell just one person that sits in an office, all week, all right, what's the quickest, most sure way to gain a couple miles per hour of club head speed? Where would you direct them? Is it flexibility? Yeah. Is it strength? Is it contact? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, the hitting the center of the face is critical, and that's let's say that we're hitting the center of the face, and we're sitting, we're working at home, you're working at an office chair for a lot of times. We get into a position that tends to pull the shoulders forward. It lengthens the muscles in the back and it tightens the muscles in the front and the chest. And just getting used to expanding your chest, getting into a posture position that allows you to stretch out the front part of your chest, get some tighter muscles into the back is a great physical way to start to add speed. And I would say, actually getting a club in your hand and swinging is get that sequence right, which means from the top of the backswing, shift towards the target as your first move. And a lot of golfers that struggle with distance, the first thing they do is spin and really get to that lead. Upper must get that chest a bit more touched, engaged. And then when you downswing, shift.
All right. Feel my posture getting better already. Sean,
an iron
for us.
Yeah, an iron from Matthew Wolff, 272. Wow. Now, I think something that people are going to see in this broadcast that might become part of the norm is like TV angles on these golf shots are going to be different. I've had one tournament director tell me that, how it looks, how golf looks on TV is probably going to change as a result of this too. So we just saw Matthew Wolff's approach from 270 yards. It was not followed by the camera very well. And all of a sudden you just kind of have a random shot from above on what I believe is from a blimp. So yeah, people are going to have to get used to seeing a little bit of a different product as well when they watch their golf.
And the players won't get drops from grandstands either.
I love that. See, I think that's a one of the pluses that we're going to see. Like, no fans at a course for a full month. You're not going to end up. I mean, hopefully, will guys yell for? Is there someone to yell for? To? Is there no purpose? Like, when you blow it into what would be the gallery, you're not going to get a free drop anymore, and you're actually not going to have the rough that is all downtrodden from people standing on it all day. You got to think from that and the grandstands that just by default, golf will be made a little bit more difficult for these guys, right? Just slightly.
You can't aim for the grandstand when you're in trouble and just throw it in there and get a free drop by the green anymore. It's going to be a totally different play for misses. And I've seen a lot of those, the players aim for a spot to get a drop from if they're in a bad place, and there won't be any. So if you get into a bad corner, you got to play it.
One of the last tournaments that we saw this year was at Riviera, and the 17th hole, par 5. There's grandstands almost directly around the back, 180 degrees of the green. And Spieth had blown his drive kind of left into the trees. And so he was going to play it up what I believe is the maybe the 4th hole at Riv. So, like, he was taking a line on another hole just so that he could have relief because he'd have to go over the grandstand to get to the 17th green. So those things do happen on tour, and without grandstands, we won't be seeing them, which, you could see some crazy hero shots.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the trampled down lies with the, if you miss by a bunch and you hit it where the gallery would be. There's a lot of things at play, and it's really a question of like, okay, if we get crowds back, are we actually getting crowds back? Or are we getting, 10% of the normal crowds? Are we going to have full crowds by the time we're playing at Augusta National in the fall? Is there testing that can be done for potential fans? I mean, there's more questions than answers, although the president's sounding very confident and positive in this interview with Tirico. I mean, this is it's already a strange broadcast, but then to have Mike Tirico interviewing the president of the United States while Matthew Wolff is hitting iron shots at Seminole, it's just, you wouldn't have predicted it a few months ago.
You would never have predicted it. That's one thing I keep looking back to is like, all right, 5 years ago, Tiger Woods is like unable to play in the Masters because his back is hurt, and he's had surgery. And fast forward 5 years, you're telling yourself, well, Tiger is the defending champion at the Masters, and he didn't get a chance to defend it in April. He's going to actually defend it in November. Not only that, well, Rory McIlroy has not won a major, and people hate the president for playing a lot of golf, but right now golf is the most important sport in the world. So it's definitely a different world than we've been in both the temporary and a lot longer than that too.
Oh, here's Shippy.
Boys, sorry, I had some internet issues. I'm back. But I did get to watch the Trump interview. I'm sure you guys are discussing that now. What everybody think?
Well, I mean, it's tricky going back and forth of listening to the interview and listening to our good host Sean Zach. But we were just saying how a few months ago, if you told me that we were showing panoramic shots of Seminole while President Trump was commentating a Matthew Wolff golf shot, I wouldn't have known what to think. So I don't know. What did you glean from that interview?
I thought Tirico was a better questioner than the entire White House press corps. He asked some really good questions. Trump kind of deflected those that had any kind of edge to him. But, the thing about Donald Trump is he loves golf and he's a golf fan. And it's funny that he's citing Rickie Fowler's record in the major championships with more precision than some of the testing numbers about, COVID-19, but he's always been a golf fan, and so that comes through when he's in these settings. But yeah, it was. I don't think he shed too much light on what the future of the sport's going to look like, and honestly, he doesn't have very much say in it. I mean, Jay Monahan is the one calling the shots, as is the governors and the local authorities where the tournaments are being played. I mean, I think from the interview, it sounds like Trump would love to have 50,000 people circling every green, but that's just not going to be the reality for a while.
Yeah, the commenters on Facebook are not thrilled that Trump was even involved with the broadcast. But, Alan, one thing that is true is down at the Players' Championship, you were down there. Dylan, you were down there. Jay Monahan is hosting these press conferences, and he's mentioning, I've been on the phone with the White House. I've been on the phone with the president and the vice president. So as much as Trump doesn't have a say, Jay Monahan and Mike Wan are both on the coronavirus task force, one of the task force in terms of bringing sports back. So
yeah,
it's all intertwined.
It helps, that's the president's business. He's got a lot of golf course properties. He's a part of the game, so that they know him. And they've known him for a long time. I mean, the PGA of America is going to be at a PGA Championship is going to be a Trump property in a few years. There's long business and personal relationships, and so it is helpful in these times if you can ring up the president and get some sense of what's going on. I'm for the upcoming Golf magazine. I'm writing a story about golf during World War II because it was kind of the last time the game totally shut down as it has now, and there's a famous letter from President Roosevelt to Kennesaw Mountain Landis, the commissioner of baseball, basically saying, Landis went to the president looking for advice. Should we play the games or not during World War II? And the president said, yeah, I think you should. I mean, the nation needs something to distract itself, and we need some recreation, and we need some things to boost morale. And that letter is really the reason why baseball kept going. Even though golf kind of shut down. I mean, golf was not the national pastime, it did not have the same level of support. It was still kind of seen as this elitist activity. But so what the president thinks, whether you get his blessing or not, is important and it's powerful. And golf does have a direct line to the White House. And I think that's a good thing in these times.
Well, we just saw Rory narrowly miss a birdie on the 9th, par 5. So there's going to be an opportunity here for the Oklahoma State boys to grab a couple skins.
I think the best thing about what we can look forward to as we turn to the back nine is it seems like, look, you can only fake it and put on a certain face for so long. These guys are going to just fall into the basic routines they have when they're playing golf with their buddies. They should loosen up a little bit for the back nine. And I think that we'll see a little bit more of their personalities as we get, in the finishing stretch here.
Well,
Big putt for Rickie.
Yeah. I think Wolff and Rickie have an opportunity here to take the lead, actually.
That's right. If Zach invested at the right time.
Yeah, 2 pretty short birdie putts for the boys in orange. Or at least used to be in orange.
Wow. Rickie walking it in.
Yeah, best putter in the group. He's proven it today.
That's the guy you want on your team. You called it.
Fowler's been clutch. What do we think these guys shot on the front 9? Like, is anyone keeping sort of track? And
I really don't have a sense because it seems like there was such a disparity in holes where it was like couldn't keep it on the planet on some holes, and then a bunch of guys with short birdie putts on a couple others. So,
it feels like
Joe, what do you got?
3.
Wasn't super low. I can tell. I don't think there were any low numbers on the front. I didn't see anybody blitz. So back 9's going to be. They can score back there. A couple more par 5s reachable, but same story. Get over the greens, get on the sides. It's tough.
Yeah. Alrighty, folks, that's going to do it for us here on the Second Screen Experience at Golf.com. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, let us know on Twitter. Let us know on Facebook, on social media, or on YouTube. Or just go outside and shout it to your neighbor. We're going to be right here next week when Phil and Tiger play with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you 7 days from now.